Hello and welcome to the Source One podcast. Consider us your source for the latest procurement, supply management, and strategic sourcing insights, anytime, anywhere.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Source One podcast. I'm here talking with Brandon Hummons, a consultant here at Source One based out of Chicago. So Brandon, over there in Chicago, you are the chair of the Emerging Leaders Committee for the Institute for Supply Management's local chapter. And I know you guys have got an event coming up, so I wanted to take some time to talk about your mission at ISM-Chicago and what you're hoping to accomplish with this event as well as future events. So right off the bat, I wanted to ask, what role do you think organizations like ISM and its local chapters play in driving the procurement profession forward?
I think that the role organizations like ISM play in driving procurement forward is really around bringing procurement professionals together for networking purposes, but then also formal education. So I do have my CPSM, which is Certified Professional Supplier Management, and it taught me so much about the supply chain process, but it also allowed me to meet other supply chain professionals in the field. And learning from how their businesses handle procurement, I was able to gain valuable insight across the industry that I could then take back to my own organization.
Right, I imagine it's a great opportunity for kind of peers and competitors alike to sort of come together toward a common goal. So your first event as chair of this committee is related to closing the talent gap. How do you define talent gap? When we use that term, what are the skills that organizations and individuals are finding it hard to develop?
Let me back up a second here. The event is called Bridging the Talent Gap, and it's really focused on how to advance your career within procurement. So this isn't something for HR people to come to and say, all right, well, how do I hire more talented people? Now, they are going to get some of that insight, but the main audience here is going to be people that are in either the beginning or the later stages of their career that are looking to get to that next level. And then when we're thinking about talent gap, we have to make a distinction between people that are within buying organizations to people that are within strategic sourcing organizations. And so right now, with the wave of automation coming through, we want to move out of the realm of simple tactical purchases over to strategic purchases. And so for me, what this looks like is being able to effectively identify areas where we can work with business units and say, all right, well, what's your long-term strategy? What are you looking for 3 years down the road that we can start doing today that allows you to properly manage your vendors and manage your spend to achieve greater outcomes? And right now in the workforce, there's not a lot of those skills available. There are a lot of people that know how to put through a purchase order, but not a lot of people that know how to sit down and develop a full roadmap within a business unit that then says, here's your priorities, here are the things that we can tackle now, and here are the things that we should be looking at tomorrow.
Why do you think these talent gaps persist? Is it because of an outdated idea of what it is procurement professionals do, or is it something else?
I think it's a combination of how the organization treats procurement and views procurement, as well as the opportunities some of these people within those procurement departments are getting. For example, if you have a younger organization, or rather an older organization with a younger procurement department, you're going to get a lot of action that's all around the tactical aspects of procurement. So you may have a very mature business, right, that has just started to take a closer look at their costs. Maybe they started in 2008 when the financial crisis hit, right? And now they're saying, all right, well, we need to make very smart buys. But they're not really doing a good job of defining those smart buys, right? And therefore, they're transferring that sort of behavior onto their procurement employees. So if you're in one of these organizations, you're not getting the experience to do strategic purchases and strategic sourcing, right? You're getting the experience to do tactical buying. And therefore, when you want to move on to an organization who has maybe had a strategic sourcing department since the 70s, all of a sudden they're looking at you and saying, well, where's your experience at? Where's your strategic buying at, right? Where's your strategic sourcing development processes and your roadmap development experience, right? And they're not getting these skills and these opportunities. And so right now, what we're pushing for and what we're urging is for people to look at their own skill set and start to ask these questions within their own procurement departments to then get those opportunities themselves. So it's definitely going to be a combination of what the business allows and what the individual takes on.
So that kind of brings me to another question. Both you're mentioning of the kind of company level and the individual level. I want to first start with the organizational level. What do you think organizations can do to help their employees close those personal talent gaps and develop into more effective professionals? What do you see as a good first step?
I think there are going to be three main steps here. One, formal education. I think that a lot of people overlook this, but actually taking formal classes on procurement, sourcing, strategic purchasing, and vendor management, of course. Anything within that realm of that formal education, or even in some cases informal, is going to be the first step to developing your employees and then offering that and then sponsoring it. So when I say that, you shouldn't put the burden of learning these skills only on the employee. The burden for them is going to be their time. But the next stage past that is going to be the dollar spent. So like, let's say, for example, there's a contracting session on learning the terms and conditions of your standard contracts that allow you to have more wins, right? This session can cost $800 for a 2-day session, right? We shouldn't put that burden on the employees. So businesses should invest in the education of their team in order to help them advance further in their career, right? So that's going to be step number one. And then two, it's going to be about developing a better center of excellence where they can bring some of their overall learnings back to the team and bring some of their developments back to the individuals, right? So if we have certain processes that we've learned how to do better, we need to start sharing that within our organizations, right? And then the third step is a caveat of that second step, which is things that we've learned, we need to start sharing that with other organizations and then learning from other organizations. We need to look at each other as collaborators, especially within the procurement department. I can look at a company very similar to my own and say, all right, well, what can I learn from you rather than why should I be afraid of you, right? So if we're in the same sort of industry, buying space, let's take IT, for example, I should be able to go to another business and say, well, how are you managing your IT purchases, right? How are you developing your roadmap when you have different offices that are being built out in different sections of the country and you're trying to plan for the IT purchases of those offices? Like, what are you doing to effectively manage that spend? And how are you developing a strategic roadmap for those processes and for those purchases, right? So, we need to start looking at our businesses to invest in the employees. We need to invest in ourselves and ask for those opportunities. And we need to start networking with other procurement departments to learn more from each other and then share more of our own knowledge.
Yeah, no, so I like that you say that the burden of this sort of education shouldn't fall on the employees themselves, but obviously, every now and then that is going to be that case. So events like your upcoming panel are certainly useful resources for employees looking to do that skill building themselves. What are some other resources you would recommend professionals at any stage of their career take advantage of?
Well, I would say take advantage of your network, first of all. So the upcoming event, it's going to be sponsored through ISM. It's a small fee of $10 for people to attend, whether you're an ISM member. And the reason for that is you want to make an investment in yourself, right? And $10 is not really that much for the type of knowledge that you're getting. Now, there are going to be other sessions that are $800 and $1,200 to $3,600. That's when I think that the organization needs to partner with you to help sponsor those types of things. But other than that, there's a lot of other individualized learning that you can do. I would highly recommend utilizing LinkedIn first to connect with different groups within your profession. So I'm a part of several groups within LinkedIn that are strictly focused on sourcing and strategic purchasing, right? And some of these are varied by industry and some of them are varied by location. So the ones by industry, I get to learn, so I'm in the IT and telecom space, so I get to learn directly about strategic purchasing within IT and telecom from those LinkedIn groups and other blog posts that I also follow. So of course, CoreCentric has a number of blogs that they release on the daily that you would want to keep tabs on to then understand what's going on in your specific industry within procurement in general. So that's going to be strategic sorcerer. And then there are other things that are going on within your own city or own region that you can participate in. That face-to-face interaction is super important when it comes to networking and then learning from these other organizations. There's so much less that you can gain from just jumping on a phone call than you can sitting in front of somebody or going into a networking event where you can sit down with a group of people. Investing your time, energy, and resources in that individualized learning and networking is going to do exponential benefits to your own career and your own education.
Awesome. Yeah, we're all obviously very much looking forward to the event on October 30th. As one last question, is there anything else you can give me, any sort of preview you can provide about the other events you're hoping to schedule throughout the rest of 2019 and into the new year?
Well, Bennett, I'm really a hands-on guy, right? So one of the things that I want to start introducing to ISM is more energy. In the past, we've often seen events that are geared toward those, heads of procurement, those hiring managers, and it's often you get into a room and you listen to one person speak, right? So this upcoming event is going to be very hands-on. There are going to be sessions involved where people can ask questions, work with each other, and then even do a little bit of that on-the-spot practice. In the future, I want to do more of this, but even on a deeper level. So imagine if we get together and we walk into a medium to small business and we're able to tour their facility and then on the spot come up with, firsthand procurement recommendations, right? So let's say we walk into a brewery, right? And we understand, like, where are you guys getting your equipment from? Who does the facilities here? Who manages the janitorial services? Things like that we can ask questions about. And then immediately after that, put our minds together and then come up with on-the-spot recommendations for them to improve their business practices and then improve their strategic sourcing methods, short-term and long-term. To me, that's the fun part about procurement, and I want to get different people within the city of Chicago together, doing those things, having fun with it, and then really bringing that new energy to the table.
You've been listening to the Source One podcast. For more strategic sourcing and procurement insights every day, visit our blog, The Strategic Sorcerer. Want to provide feedback or suggest a topic for a future episode? Let us know at prrequest@sourceoneinc.com. Thanks for listening.